on average.
Sugar.
Always love that. Although it is noon, today is December 10th, 2 weeks from today, as we've been stamping books. Christmas.
Yes.
No! I am Lori Yoakum. I'm the director here at Wilson Community Chat. I'm so excited to have Mandy Swanson here. Mandy has been here before with a couple different hats, but today she's here to talk about the Business Improvement District.
Yeah.
So welcome.
So thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Lori, and the library. This is a great program to kind of have a platform, I guess, for the community to know different things that you might not have a chance to really put out there. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe someday we'll actually change it to a podcast type of thing.
I don't know. Works fine for me.
This way, people actually are invited to come in and see the people and hear them. Yo.
B.I.D. is the Business Improvement District, and it is a group that is established as part of the city of Cozad.
Oh, it is. So we were
Yes.
just talking about that.
Yes. So
I think there's a little confusion about what B.I.D. is.
Yes. So, and I mean, honestly, we have to kind of look at the resolution sometimes too to kind of decide.
Isn't that funny? I always thought it was part of the chamber. So it's a good thing I don't tell people.
I think that's with a lot of things in the community, like, you're just not sure who is in charge of doing what things, and so you don't know who to ask for stuff. But so the city created the Business Improvement District back in 1984, and so I think it was just kind of a way for there to be a specific group of people that are that have an interest in what happens in that downtown area. So the board, to be part of it, you have to be an employee, a business owner. There are some people that do live in the downtown district, so they are welcome to be part of the board also, but the property owners or an employee of any of those businesses. So the area was originally just the four, like our main downtown block. So we have that, the intersection, our one stoplight,
So 8th and Meridian.
Yeah, and then, so just the 4 blocks and all 4 sides of them that go all the way around that. So within that district, we actually have 58 businesses. So I love saying that number. I think that, just for 4 blocks, that 58 businesses is.
So do the businesses include residences, or how many residences are in
So
there?
they're the only residences that are there or are like, so Main Street, or I think like Mode Boutique has some people that live above those shops. So they are not counted in that 58 numbers. The 58 is strictly commercial businesses. That's zoned commercial down there. So I suppose because those are typically rentals, that's how that works out. But yeah, we just count the 58.
Now, does the B.I.D. actually, though, extend across to the green space?
So it does just recently, not to the museum. It was just the 4 blocks forever and ever. And then, so the green space was put in there, and pardon me, let me check so 2022, that's when we officially went to the city and asked to kind of annex the green space into that, because there were just some projects needing done and some things, landscaping specifically.
Improvements.
Done. Yes, so improvements for that area. And obviously people are very interested when people come to that green space for events. That brings people to our downtown. So that's, it's important to us to kind of have that collectively look nice down there. So just in 2022, we added that, and we've had a lot of conversation, just for the public's information, about, so the library down here, we got some banks, that are just outside of where our, yes. And so the reason that the decision up to date has been made to not extend those is simply because of revenue, quite honestly. So each of the businesses that are within the 4 blocks pay. So this is actually something that's going to change starting with the new year, but since 2014, the dues have been $10. So how the B.I.D. is funded in the projects that we do is that on everybody's electric bill, they just get a $10 flat rate charge for each of the 58 businesses that are in those 4 districts. And so in our mind, most of the improvements that we do, and just keep getting more expensive, to add, say, for example, this block that may have 3 businesses, to add $30, but then to have to put $1,000 bench on the corner, or, upkeep the landscaping or whatnot. That's just unfortunately not financially feasible for what we're trying to accomplish.
So 58 businesses, what happens if there's a storefront, but there's not a business in it?
It still pays. So if they have electricity.
The business does, or the owner?
The owner of that. So, we do have several locations on that 7th Street corridor, to the side of Frontier Frau, which we are doing our dangest to, just kind of make that area welcoming, because there's not a lot of not things happening at the rest of that block, but the owners of those businesses do pay as part of their board bill. Yep.
Okay. So see, you just schooled me on a whole bunch of things. And so if you're schooling me, I know other people are probably not going to do that too. So when you annex the green space, and I'm asking you questions that you may or may not have in there, did the board also look at the city's plan for that area too? So when you do improvements, you're going by that plan? I think the most recent one was like a 2016 plan.
Yeah, not necessarily. I think the idea was, because that is kind of managed by the city, so like obviously the street department and the parks department, they are a godsend for us. They help us do all kinds of projects. So this is a shout out to the actual city departments that are quote unquote on call for us, when we need a tree pulled, or, they're great.
So the B.I.D. board, even though it's part of the city, doesn't get a budget from the city.
We do.
Your improvements are strictly from that $580 per year.
Yes.
A month.
So a month.
Yes.
Yes. It's $10 a month. Okay. So yeah, $580. And so, which does not go that far. And so I think most people in Cozad are pretty familiar that Melanie Nutt maintains most of the planters and whatnot downtown.
Well, and I know you guys have done the lights above all the buildings. That was the B.I.D.
Yes.
What else has B.I.D. done?
Yep. So, I don't want to, the main thing that people know the B.I.D. for, I think, is the planters, the sidewalk planters. So there's just within those 4 blocks, we maintain 48 of those. And so Melanie is technically, I suppose, probably an employee of the B.I.D. board. She manages and kind of takes care. Yes. And so she takes great pride in keeping that looking nice, and, picking things that work well and keeping those planters cleaned up down there. We also have, in the last several years, we added the ones that are the bigger planters on the 4-way stops. And so we put the planters in there and have Christmas trees now. So something just kind of different and festive in that area.
Well, I know with Cozad, the B.I.D. board helped with the flags.
Yes.
So I'm guessing they also do the other flags.
Yes. Yep. So that's kind of some various flags that have been down there. The roof line lighting was one of the major projects that we've done since I've been on the board. That actually that had a price tag of $27,000. So with, our $500 a month, and then we still have to buy plants and do the labor and do our regular expenses, that took us a minute. So we were very happy to get that done. Then all of the benches that are downtown, the trash cans, we try to just make sure that there's an area. I don't know, there's some kind of study that says, somebody won't walk more than, I don't know, it seems like 1 inch to throw away their, pop can or whatever. So we just want to make sure that there's receptacles in, prominent places.
So those benches, maybe I'm not seeing them correctly. It seems to me like some of them are in honor of or in memory of.
So the ones downtown, most of them do not have those plaques. There is one, when I came on the board, Darren Hoffmaster had been a board member for a long time. He passed away while he was an active board member, and so we chose to just add a plaque in memoriam of him. There is also one in front of the Green Apple that I believe the Geiger family purchased on their own. That was something that their family did.
Well, so my question is, if somebody was interested in doing a bench downtown as a memorial, would they, is the B.I.D. board who they would approach about that?
They certainly could, if, I mean, they can definitely do it on their own also, it's not to say that it has to come through us. We do have a contact, if you wanted
Well, I didn't know
to match.
if you have to give permission or if that's a city has to give permission.
Yeah, I would say probably just the business, wherever, if they had a place where they specifically wanted it to be at, I think the city approval would be all that would be needed for that. But
and
if they
probably
wanted
business
us
owner
to, right,
approval,
yeah,
right.
yes, absolutely. So if we were facilitating that, ordering it, having it placed where, just wherever needed, then, we could do that. But if they had something in mind, like, specifically at the Green Apple, where they wanted that, but. So
I know those benches are really handy, like during the parade.
Yes.
And,
and they held up very, again, price tags, both the trash cans, the benches. I think people are surprised to know that they cost about $1,000 a piece. But in my time on the board, have never had to replace one ever. So
what else have you done? Or are you going to do?
Yep. So one other project just in the last couple of years that I think people will be familiar with is that we did the crosswalk paintings and in the center. And then for whatever reason, we just had a heck of a time getting that paint, having the availability for that paint. And so we did not replace that once they just washed off. And that has just kind of been, but it was fun to do that.
I was going to say, was it,
had a nice
you
center.
don't have to say the price, but was it in your wheelhouse enough that you could do different paintings throughout?
Yeah, we actually, Elizabeth Walters was on our board at that time, and her husband, I believe, is an art teacher. And so he kind of mocked up some designs for us and had some people, just had some kids come and help him, and we just walked the streets. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Somebody had some ideas. Yeah, that's definitely something that was easy. And
so what about like the murals? Is the B.I.D. board looking at murals at all? I know that's a big push, as you see cities across Nebraska, across the United States. So
we are actually, and we're just kind of, placement is an issue. We just have those 4 blocks for us specifically to work with. But a while back, me and my family were actually in Lincoln, and we went down an alley, and there's just a lot of push for, I don't know, I say photo opportunities, just these fun little places. And I just felt like it made this alleyway feel so much safer, that it had, just some artwork.
Was that
some lights. It was.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a fun place.
And so we are looking at doing something like that, with some of the businesses that are now being open, and especially with our theater, bringing some people in the evenings much more than we had in the past, just kind of looking for some things to bring people downtown and, make it be a walking space, I guess, that you could go place to place. And
is the B.I.D. board, is that something unique to Cozad, or do most cities have something similar to that?
I honestly, I don't. I have, just to sometimes get some ideas, I just kind of Google, what other, opportunities are. It's for sure something that I see in much larger communities, and they do, parking garages or, things like that. So on a much larger scale than, what we're trying to accomplish, and just kind of keeping, and obviously our city employees do the bulk of keeping our business, downtown district picked up and clean, but it definitely falls to the business owners and the general public, when you're walking down the street. And so I think that it's important to kind of give those business owners and those people a voice specifically, where you don't need to go to a city council meeting or go talk to the street department to see if you can do this, that, or the other. You can actually have a say that says, on my block, this is something that I think, and that is one thing that is kind of unique. We tend to typically try to improve areas as a whole, I guess, but it is not something, we don't have to disperse them equally to every, it doesn't have to equally benefit. The idea is that when the downtown as a whole looks good, that makes everybody look good. So we are in the process. We've noticed a lot of the bricks around the planters, the sidewalk ones have been damaged. So we are, getting some of those, and some people will see those repairs, new ones in front of their businesses. But, like I said, that's just kind of when the whole business, when the whole community looks good, it makes everybody look good. So.
I know you have a whole list of talking points,
no.
so I don't know what you've hit, but
Yeah.
I just tend to ask those questions with my age, and even if I don't, the question's gone.
Go away with if you're there, you ask them. No, I think we've touched on, that most everything, and I'm pretty comfortable.
So how do you become a member of the board? And you said you have your employee, you're a business owner. Is this like a mayor appointed thing?
Nope. So the resolution calls that this board can have up to 12 people on it. A minimum of 5. There has to be at least 5 people serving at all times. So right now we have 8 people on that board. So if there are, today, if you are interested in that, social medias, like our Facebook page is probably really about the only way, we don't have an office space or, anything specifically for B.I.D.
See, and I didn't even know you had a Facebook page.
So please join, grab on Facebook, and people say,
what is it under?
Just the Cozad Business Improvement District.
Cozad Business Improvement.
Yes, I know, that's kind of a mouthful for that, so.
But when people say B.I.D. board, I think a lot of people don't know what that stands for.
That's why we did want to kind of make that page. So, and I don't know, maybe that makes it harder to find, when you just know it as the BID and don't know what that stands for. But
so you said 8 people are on your board.
Yes.
Who's on?
Yeah, Stacy Evertson represents State Farm. Lori McGinnis from Service Drug. Megan Bales at Shelter. Scott Geiser at the 222 Hardware, and then Sarah Wolf is with the hospital, and then she also has the Pet Barn, her business downtown, and then Donna Robb is at H&R Block, and Julie Scala, who is at the Home Health. So,
and you.
Yes, and me.
And how long have you been?
So I have been on for 13 years. I was actually at Bruce Hart's law office when I started, when Darren popped in, and and I said, sure, I'd love to get involved downtown. And so it is something that when someone signs on, they are asked to serve a 3-year term. So it's from whenever you start, then we typically will do calendar years, but so 3 years is what, and then you can opt to re-up for as long as your heart desires, as long as,
So is there like an exec committee of the B.I.D. or you're just all the board?
Yep, we're just all.
So you don't ever have to worry about becoming president of the board?
Well, no, so I guess I shouldn't say that. That's incorrect. So there is a president. We have a treasurer because we do just need to balance a checkbook. And then we have a secretary. We do take meeting minutes. We have scheduled scheduled meetings once a month, but just depending on what kind of projects we have, in the winter time, maybe we don't have as much going on, and so we can skip a meeting or I would say 7 or 8 times a year is typically what we end up meeting. It's not a working board per se. It's just kind of a decision-making entity.
And you hire somebody else to do the work.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So
I wish more boards were like that.
And boards are good because you need idea people and you need implementation people. And I kind of sometimes chuckle about being on this board because picking what kind of trees are right to go downtown is probably not in my wheelhouse, and I'm probably not even necessarily creative. But when someone brings an idea, then I know the people and I know some ways to get some.
But you're a budgeter, so
yes,
you have a definite strength.
So I can say, that's gonna be a back burner project for sure.
So bricks are coming up.
Yep, and then
what else?
we are also we have them on order to do just basically it's like a plexiglass holder. And so I was kind of saying, when people are walking around downtown, so the chamber and the retail committee are kind of branding, I guess, our downtown is a downtown destination. And so what we want to do is, as you're walking, maybe your intent was to pop into Rustic and Red, but then there would be this flyer available outside that would say, these are other great retail, opportunities in our downtown, or places to stop and eat. And then the idea would be that if anybody had anything that they were needing, hoping just someone on the street could stop and pick up something. So just planning to put those just kind of sporadically in an alleyway or just a random offshoot. Kind of some things that the business people have brought to us, or that the city or whomever has kind of let us know that they would like to see some funds go to, is some additional updated Christmas decorations, which I've seen. Kind of most things come down to budget, whether that's going to land on our plate or if it's just the city's plate. Then also a lot of communities are trying to add some directional signage, just to, hospitals this way, sports complexes, schools, that kind of thing. So again, kind of tricky because we have to spend just within our district. So somebody would actually have to be in our downtown, to be able to do those. But
what would those signs have to be? Those signs have to be located in that?
Yeah, so the signs would be there, and then we can direct them to different places, but they would have to be within the district.
So I just hear you, when you talk about things, I'm guessing you work closely with the retail committee, the chamber. Do you work with the creative district at all?
Starting to a little bit. It was kind of something that took off and was, very active for a little bit, and then just with a changeover in that position. But Bonnie Hubbard has some great ideas, and she's doing some great things. I am also on the chamber board currently, and so,
I see a pattern.
Yeah, and so. Just with them being in that close, I kind of know what they're doing and what we're doing, and just kind of let her know, these are some things that might fit in both of our wheelhouses, and we can kind of pull all of those things together. So,
if you had, I guess, what's your vision for the B.I.D. board? What would you like to see happening downtown?
I don't know for sure. Just continued growth, I guess, continued support and camaraderie. I think with every group, people are struggling to find volunteers to make the time to do that. And so I hope that by talking today that I can express to people that it's not, in my opinion, this particular board is not a huge commitment, but it's important for the growth and the continuity of, our downtown.
Well, it sounds like, especially people who are interested in the way the downtown looks.
Right.
This would be a great board to get involved with, to have a say.
Yes. And also another kind of a shout out, or not a shout out, but I guess an ask is that Melanie she does a lot of other things in the community. And so we are looking currently for another assistant. Typically we, especially in the summertime, try to have someone to be available when she's at softball, baseball, with family or whatnot, so she can have some times off, because there are certainly days when it gets super hot and we need to have, things watered every day. And so if anybody is interested or has any interest in, just able to pull some weeds or, pick up cigarette butts or a pop can or, and then just watering.
What are some things that B.I.D. has been approached about that you just really can't do? That's
sure
outside of your.
Yep. So somebody had asked us to look into having uniform street numbers put on all of the businesses, so that everybody would, that would just be a nice, clean, but that's just something that is not our, we can't tell someone what to do on their own specific business, those kinds
that'd be
things.
like, asking all of the business owners to paint their buildings purple or something like that.
Yeah.
But is there like an aesthetic that the B.I.D. board is kind of looking for, or?
I don't know, not necessarily, just
keep it clean.
Yeah. So it's picked up and just nice, a welcoming place. I think that the roof line lights, that kind of adds an ambiance, and specifically, like I mentioned, with the theater now and some of our businesses being open later in the evening, and kind of having a little better traveling, or people being downtown in the evening. I think that's really added something nice down there.
Has your committee, you were talking about the walkability of our downtown, things that would add to that walkability?
Yep. So
like the plexiglass holders.
Yep. And so the two things that we are kind of adding with that is just kind of having an opportunity for, kind of like I said, almost like a photo op, like these are places where you can walk downtown and let's go. And so also promoting things like the wings and the icons. And so that's something that with the creative district, that's not a project that we implemented, but that that accessorizes,
Sure.
what we have going on, I hope, in our downtown. And so that's something that just those street displays also can say, just a short walk over here, or, check these out throughout our town. And
awesome. What else is on your list that I strayed?
No, you're doing, I appreciate it. I think we're getting through most of it. Just one other, I guess we kind of talked about some of the projects, and so we said that the brickwork and then the plexiglass, kind of something also that is a current project that we are trying to get a good feel for, is to add an awning back at the green space. Just kind of trying to figure out what doesn't kill all the grass there, but keeps, multiple people covered, doesn't cover, impede the stage.
Well, and now that they they're trying to get that 3D projector too,
yes.
Something that wouldn't
yes.
that.
yes. So yeah, that works for, different events, but doesn't have to be. That was kind of what happened. We had a very nice awning system there, but it had to be put up and taken down for every event. And so when an event would happen in the evening, it would get left up overnight until the city could take that down the following day. And then Nebraska weather happened. Yes.
Like we all heard last night.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
At least we didn't have the 100-mile-an-hour winds like farther north.
Yes. That got. Yesterday was a beautiful December day. That's how I like my Decembers, for sure. So,
would you say that that's kind of I don't want to say that's the focus of B.I.D. right now, is that green space, working with that green space? Or you guys just really take things as they come?
Yeah, I'm like, it's just kind of one project after another. So, even if people are not able to commit to being on the board, we really do welcome, any ideas, because a lot of stuff does come from, I went on vacation to South Dakota and I seen this in their downtown, or, different things. So if anybody has an idea, that we can kind of run with, and obviously it's kind of on a to-do list based on what funding opportunities we have available.
How about with the business improvement grants? Do you guys do anything with that, or is?
No, other than promotion of that, that mostly comes from the CDC, I think, is who administers those. So I'm not sure now. With Robin, probably is the contact primarily for those. They do the work, kind of the behind the scenes, to bring those funds in. And B.I.D. has actually been able to be the recipient of some of those grant funds. Sometimes we have some opportunities, depending on what projects we're working on.
So you can apply for that,
right?
Specifically as the B.I.D. board.
Our monies, yes, to put a project. But yeah, definitely encourage any of the downtown businesses to look into those for awnings, paint, any kind of storefront improvement.
Do you guys have how do you communicate with all 58 businesses at once to let them know this is what you're doing?
Probably not as good as we should, to be honest with you. For the most part, social media, our Facebook page is probably about the only way that we have to communicate, and then the city will typically share, anything that we have going on.
And it just came up with like the grant, and you're like, we encourage it.
How do people know about
how do people get to know about this? So maybe the business owners that
Yeah,
they would benefit from
right.
those
Yeah,
grants to know about that.
yeah. So, and like I said, probably, and I think that that's something that I think every group that I'm involved with struggles with is how do you let people know that things are happening? Because I mean, I think every group, then they say, well, I didn't even know that was going on. And you think, oh my goodness, I advertised every single way I possibly thought that we could, or, you know, whatever. And so it's just, how do people find out about things? And I don't know what that is.
My thing about that is I really think it comes down to guerrilla marketing and word of mouth.
Yeah.
That, you know, I can tell you and say, I have anointed you to tell as many people as possible.
Yes, yep, that's exactly.
Or when you're on social media, I guess this would be a great time to say, if you go to Cozad's Business Improvement District and like it, then as you see those posts of either B.I.D. or different companies, like it and share it. That's the whole way to get into more people's algorithm is to like, share, and comment.
Right.
And preferably comment positive things.
Yes, we appreciate that. And
and you know, if you don't have a positive thing, to message those comments instead of post them for the world.
Yeah, and I mean, we definitely, you know, take the constructive criticism, you know, and I think we try to kind of go by, you know, if you know that there's a problem, probably we do too, and we're, you know, but so, you know, if you have a feel or a take on that, then definitely share that with us, though.
Or do you guys just take suggestions too? Like you said that you were just up in South Dakota and you saw some things. If somebody goes somewhere and they see something, like, you know, hey, I really wish Cozad could do something like this.
And that's and we use other communities as our resource. You know, like when we did the crosswalks and the center, like O'Neill, Nebraska, and, you know, some places that some of our board had been at. So, and then like I mentioned that, you know, we were downtown and I thought, oh, you know, we have some, you know, some areas that I think that would work on, that are close to, you know, Tap House or, you know, places that might have business after dark. And so just kind of trying to make that a destination, I guess, for people to come downtown. And so, you know, when we first started our social media page, I think we kind of, how do I want to say, we used that a lot to share information from the businesses that were within the district. And then we've just kind of, and not that we still don't do that, but we've kind of not rebranded, but, you know, just made our focus more that the idea is not promoting a specific, you know, an individual business, but it's just Cozad as a whole. And then also to let those businesses know, like, I hope that everybody kind of is starting to learn with the Revitalize and Thrive program that's coming to Cozad. They are kind of working with kind of telling us, I guess, what our faults are, you know, so that we can kind of work to build that up instead of coming in and saying, these are all the great things, which they, you know, do let you know also, this is what's working for you. But kind of, we're trying to share some of those things so that businesses know, you know, just a quick, if you make, it's sort of a, if you build it, they will come kind of, you know, idea, I guess, so that if you keep your businesses cleaned up, if you, you know, make them welcoming, that there are just some things that people just have to do for themselves too. So,
as part of Business Improvement District, specifically thinking about those 58 businesses, are there opportunities for B.I.D. to do some training, like customer service training, display training, you know, to how to make your windows?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I suppose that there would be.
I didn't know if that was like, if that would be in your wheelhouse, if you're talking about improving the business district, you know, so improving those, you know, those windows that you walk by and how, because some people might not know how to really make those attractive.
And so that's a fantastic, like, suggestion, you know, something to kind of put in our heads that, you know, it seems like it'd be common sense that if we could do that, we would be doing it. But I guess I don't think that we've ever really looked at it that way. We have been involved in maybe when a storefront empty, utilizing, can we have the high school put some artwork down here, something to just improve that.
I mean, that's a great
curb
idea.
appeal of an area that is.
I think about like large cities, like if they're building something, or if there is, like at the mall, if you would see a dead space, they have put kind of a wrap in the window about not necessarily advertising other businesses,
Right.
but promoting promoting this space.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Visualize it as your space type of thing.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of, it's something with the retail committee and the chamber specifically, and then, just the city of Cozad, the development corporation. I think it's everybody's play to, kind of work together. And so it works out nice for me to be a part of a lot of those organizations and kind of know what all those pieces, all the fingers are doing. But definitely people shouldn't feel like they have to be, a part of all of those. It's good to.
For the businesses who are on the fringe of the spaces, has there been any talk with B.I.D. as far as enlarging those? And I know your point earlier was like, if just say as a library, we're getting you $500 or $10 a month. Right. That doesn't really say, right, you're deserving of $1,000. Yeah. But, and I can't give you a concrete example, but would there be some interest from those other fringe businesses? So, because like I do think of the museums and Studio 6 that way, and Napa and Security First that way, and the Bay.
And so that's what we've so now where Security First is, that block ultimately is a full block of commercial businesses now. There is no residential spaces there. But then, it also, the thought is kind of like, well, we have these 4 blocks, and then we got like this little quarter space here, and then we got this block, stemming over here, and,
because you could probably go south too.
Right. And then it also, so the museum, we kind of thought, one, they have some care, they have people that do volunteer, they have a board, that helps with their things, and to also not require them to be in the place where they have to pay the dues. And then of course, would be open to helping the bistro, but then you're around the corner, you have some residential, you have a church, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah. So no, I definitely, the interest is there, certainly. And also, we wish that we could figure out a way to apply that.
I totally get your core downtown is your core downtown.
And so, we definitely don't want anybody to feel like those businesses are a lesser or, but we hope that it kind of lens, if we keep it cleaned up all the way to 9th Street or whatever,
keep downtown full. Keep downtown full of businesses.
Still that fringe area can still benefit. From that is kind of what the hope is, I guess.
Does B.I.D. take part in like, Spook Night that's downtown in that core area?
Typically we have not, just because all of the people that are on the board are parts of other businesses, so then their businesses are represented. I typically do things either for the bank or for another organization. And so just because of the size of our board, it just hasn't worked out.
So how visual is B.I.D.?
I would say,
would you say they're much more behind the scenes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say, most people probably, I would say better than half of our community probably doesn't even know that that is a thing.
It's just like, hey, look,
right.
We have lights down here.
Right.
Oh, look, there's flowers.
Yeah. And which, I don't necessarily know that it's, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not important for people to know where those things come from. But, I don't know that.
Well, I do think it's important for them to know who does those things, because like I said, if you're on vacation in
Right.
South Dakota
Yeah,
and you see
be able
something really
to-
cool and say,
Sure.
wow, how could we do this in Cozad? Who would I even talk to?
Right. Yeah.
Which is what I think the city council, when that person came, they're like, you really need to go talk to B.I.D. And I think they were kind of like, what is that? Who is that? What is that?
Yeah. And so, I think that primarily our focus has just been on that the downtown businesses know, who's doing those things, or, that they can bring things there. But yeah, we sometimes forget that not just us can have an opinion about what goes down there, but that is something, that the city did set up, that it does have to be the people that is directly affecting making those decisions. Anybody is welcome to give us an idea, throw out, a project that they'd love to see happen. We're happy to have those, obviously budget, financial pending. Then this board of people that it directly affects. Some of us are actual business owners, that is their property, down there that affects. Others of us are representatives for the businesses that we work with, and
next year, the Calvin's Ball is coming to Cozad.
Yes.
While I know that most of that is going to happen north,
yes,
because we had Calvin's Ball come a couple months ago to talk to us. I know that they're very much looking at people coming to town ahead of time. So as a member of B.I.D., what would your vision, or what would you like people to know that maybe is outside of the scope of B.I.D. but is very important to how people perceive the downtown area, or people perceive Cozad as a whole?
Yeah, really in general. Yep. I don't want to church it up and say it's a campaign or anything, but we do kind of have some things that we are preparing to kind of just roll out and promote through our social media. Just the Cattlemen's is not an event that we are part of per se, but it will be hopefully a great economic impact, or has the opportunity to do that in our downtown. And I think anytime you are hosting not only your local community, but specifically when you are bringing people in and hoping that they'll do business in your town, is to just put your best foot forward. And so just kind of, rolling out sort of a quote unquote campaign to say, this is what's coming, and is your business ready for that? If you had plans that you've been kind of putting off.
So that's what you're going to be putting on social media?
So
that's
kind
a great
of just
idea.
And we do have the car show will be downtown, which if anybody was able to go to that this year that the chamber did, was probably the largest car show that I've seen in Cozad for long time. So we had great reviews with that, and we hope that a lot of those people come back. So just kind of encouraging people that are within our downtown or on the fringe of that even, to take the initiative, that if you were putting off a project or, whatnot, to maybe look at, are we getting an awning fixed, and are we able to get that done prior to June, when we hope to have this influx of.
That leads me back to a question about when I was asking you about how do you get those 58 businesses to know. Are they all on Facebook? Do they know that you guys have a Facebook page? Have you said, follow us? So
right. I was like, we invite, and then any correspondence that we do put out, we had to go around when we were doing the roof line lights, for example, to get permission. We needed to have people on the roofs of those buildings, and then, but we maintain them and we do all the stuff for them. So just kind of trying to keep an open communication with that, but again, probably not as good as we need to be, to just say, but we do, when something goes on, try to tag, different groups to kind of show the interest and, that kind of stuff. So, and we do the invite if somebody comments or whatever, then ask them to follow us, like us, and definitely encourage everybody, because
well,
not just the businesses.
It's everybody working all together.
And we try to, anytime an event is going to be downtown, that is something else that we try to share through our page, and, come downtown, shop, stay, eat, and go to the parade, or, come to Heydays or whatever. So
I don't think you have to twist too many people's arms to come in.
It seems like it just kind of runs itself.
It does. I know there's a lot of work to it. Well, I thank you again for coming. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure people know about you?
No, I
learned a lot. So
good.
yeah, I'm hoping everybody who watches this learns a lot too. If a business owner or employee is interested, would they contact you or any of the board members?
We are constantly looking.
Because you do have some openings.
We do have some openings, and so.
Is it a fill out, or is it if I say, hey, maybe I'm interested, you're like,
yes, please. So we do, once you are interested, we do have to submit the names to the city, and the city council officially approves and acknowledges.
Okay, so it is.
So it sort of has, that they say, yes, that we know. And I don't really know that there's much formality to that. People have come and gone, certainly the years I've been on, and I don't know that I've ever had them say.
That does lead me to one other question. Do you guys have open meetings then?
Not probably necessarily. We have an agenda, and so if someone, we've had people, like for example, the chief of police, wanted to talk about security cameras, that kind of. So if they bring something, they're welcome to come to our meetings, but it's typically as an agenda item. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't really know that anybody's shown any interest in, just publicly coming to that.
Well, I mean, that was part of like if I'm interested in being on the board and I'm outside of that French but as an example, could I come to the board and kind of see how it goes?
Yes. So, I mean, we're not discussing anything that's top secret, and it's public funds, and, we're happy to let you know what we're spending it on, and, kind of let you get a feel for what that, those meetings look like, but. Well, awesome. Pretty low key.
All right. I think you have answered most of my questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite again and for getting the word out there. And definitely anybody that has any interest or any ideas for us, we're happy to put that on our to-do list and see if we can get some things done. So
very nice. Well, check us out. I am unprepared because I did not bring my January calendar along with me to see what's next. But we will have one in January. Hard to believe that in a couple of weeks it's going to be 2026. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.